from Abuja.
Hello, thank you for being a part of our show. We appreciate you. I'm Magnus Paco, and this is Magnus Paco GVA, Global Views Africa. As you know, it's all about how we can raise the level of living. That's what it's all about. In view today, the so-called 2015 threat to Nigeria. Has it gone? We have a panel to analyze Nigeria and the 2015 challenge. But before that, in our hidden economics, is electoral witchcraft cheaper than rainmaking? Now up next, we bring you some business and development indicators in our quick view. That's coming right up. Safety, security, solid infrastructure, and economics, in addition to affordability and a good dose of peace and brotherly love, can make or break a city. According to a recent survey by the Economist Intelligence Unit, EIU, most cities in the world have seen their livability suffer since 2008 due to that period's economic and financial meltdown. In the EIU's analysis, every city is assigned a rating of relative comfort for over 30 qualitative and quantitative factors across 5 broad categories: healthcare, culture and environment, education and infrastructure. Each factor in a city is rated as acceptable, tolerable, uncomfortable, undesirable, or intolerable. In this connection, which of the following is not among the top 10 livable cities in the world? Paris, Melbourne, Vienna, and Helsinki. Which of the following is not among the top 10 livable cities in Africa? Accra, Cape Town, Nairobi, and Algiers. Stay with us for our answers coming up shortly. Still in view, Nigeria and the 2015 challenge. But up next in our hidden economics, why electoral witchcraft is cheaper than rainmaking.
It's close to midnight. Something evil's lurking in the dark.
As I have said before, in much of Africa, victory in political elections can be driven by 2 things: something good and something evil lurking in the dark, as in the song Thriller by the late great Michael Jackson. So, these 2 things are: 1, the use of political rainmakers, and 2, witchcraft, that is, political witchcraft. Now, political witchcraft occurs when power is used without legal authority. As an example, when a politician engages in undesirable activities which are aimed at illegally achieving an electoral victory, he or she is practicing political witchcraft. Engaging in violence, intimidation, harassment, bribery, victimization, and similar corrupt practices for political or electoral advantage are all manifestations of political witchcraft. Electoral rainmakers are simply electoral game changers in their ability to mobilize people and resources to achieve an electoral outcome. In Africa, especially in Nigeria, an honest high-performance political rainmaker can actually make it rain or stop it from raining. That is, they can make you win or stop someone from winning. without physically hurting anyone else. In the recent Nigeria elections, some rainmakers did fairly well for their political parties. Most notable among them is General Muhammadu Buhari, who seemingly changed the Nigerian political balance after being chosen as the APC's national standard bearer. Other rainmakers that were also real game changers for their party included Chibuike Rotimi Amechi, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Babatunde Fashola, Godswill Akpabio, and Nyesom Wike. There were also other rainmakers that didn't necessarily belong to a given political party, but decisively and significantly influenced the outcome of some of the results. In the recent Nigeria election, where a sea change in the electoral outcome has just taken place, it would appear that witchcraft was cheaper to use than rainmaking. There are clear reasons why this happens. The chief reason, however, is that the resources needed for political witchcraft appear to be cheaper than those needed for rainmaking. For example, in the recent Nigeria elections, there were reports that some politicians simply sold police uniforms for thugs who then exercised power without legal authority. Suddenly, this is cheaper to the perpetrator because it can be done at the spur of the moment. You don't really need much time or preparation to assemble the resources for political witchcraft, as you would for rainmaking. However, the cost and injury to society can be considerable. On the other hand, the political rainmaker or game changer would probably have invested in himself or herself a lot of trust and goodwill from years of demonstrable personal leadership and character. A good rainmaker may also need a lot of time, probably months, to design a strategy that would convince the electorate to vote his way or for his principle. This can be very expensive and therefore prohibitive to most rank-and-file politicians. However, on balance, the benefits are shared across society for the good of the people who, in theory, get what they wanted. Even so, folks, please note that some game changers are actually hybrid rainmakers, as they often incorporate some witchcraft in their work. I wish they didn't do this. Our hidden economics for you. Before we start our discussion in view, here are our quick view answers. The city not among the top livable cities in the world is Paris, at number 18 in the world. The city on our list not among the top 10 livable cities in Africa is Algiers, at number 13 in Africa. For information on our show, see our contacts displayed on the screen. The 2015 elections have come and basically gone, but much of the year still remains with its challenges. Clearly, Nigerians came into 2015 with a nagging presentiment of danger. The year was said by many not to forebode well for the country. A primary cause of the dread was an election that for the first time in recent history was going to be too close to call, and happening at a time when other grievous issues like Boko Haram, impunity, falling oil prices, and joblessness were buffeting the economy. Now, the elections are over, but are these grave issues gone? To discuss this, we have Dr. Otive Ibuza and Dr. Paddy Njoku. Dr. Ibuza is the Executive Director of the African Center for Leadership, Strategy and Development. He is a former international head of ActionAid Nigeria. Dr. Njoku is the chairman of NECO and the president, International Institute of Leadership and Governance. Please join us in our discussion. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much, for being in our studios, Magoni Studios. The 2015 elections are over now, and before that, there was this bogey, this 2015 bogey. Everybody thought, oh boy, the year 2015 is coming. Something is going to happen to Nigeria. So now that the election is over, is the bogey over? I'll start with you, Dr. Njoku.
Part of the bogey is over. It's over. People thought there was going to be apocalypse, that Armageddon was coming to Nigeria into 2015. And we want to congratulate Nigerians in the first place that, as the Igbos say, that it is only a tree that you threaten that you're going to cut it down and it stays. It stays put until you cut it down. Any other living thing you threaten like that takes necessary measures to make sure that it's not cut down. I think Nigerians took measures to ensure that Armageddon was pushed to some other place, if possible, and not Nigeria. That proves that the country has come to be, and we should not shy away from the reality that we have to make it be. So, we must face the problems that face us on how to be and how to continue being.
In light of what we just said here now, that if not for because of the drama that we saw in the morning of the day of the coalition, the presidential elections coalition, that it looked like the country was actually careening to the edge, as I say, of a dangerous precipice. Something ominous looked like it was about to happen. And so my question is, could there not have been real disaster? Could we not have headed straight into doom if not for the singular historic phone call by President Jonathan to President-elect Buhari?
Yeah, I think that phone call was very historic, and that phone call was significant.
Yes.
It did a lot of things to change the course of history.
Yeah.
Because prior to the elections, there has been a lot of mobilization. Mobilization to the extreme, the two major parties insisting that they will win the election. Major leaders of both parties saying that, the APC, for instance, saying that if they don't win the election, they will form alternative government. And that mobilizing the citizens in readiness for that kind of action. And leading members of the PDP saying that they will never hand over to Buhari, that Buhari will never rule the country. So
he was not electable.
Yes. So the stage was set. And if you look at countries that have similar problems, that's how it starts. With the drama we had in the morning, people were already primed,
yes,
to cause mayhem. But that historic phone call doused all tension.
Yes.
And made the people who will have gone to fight to sheath their sword. And for people who were on the field, it would have been better imagined if the alternative happened. Because what we heard was that people were already primed, waiting to...
So that phone call from the defeat of the president probably heralded victory for Nigeria and for that matter, for all of Africa, would you say?
Before the phone call, I would want to commend before the phone call Professor Jiga's poise,
yes,
calmness,
absolutely,
statesmanly courage,
yes,
in the face of provocation. Mind you, one misplaced word, a response from him, or a response from the opposing party, in that scenario of that day, could have been a trigger, because everybody was watching all over the country.
Yeah.
Mind
All
you,
over the world, actually.
Yeah, all over the
All
world.
over the world,
Mind you,
yes.
the phone call came after. But if suppose somebody from the opposing party came there and confronted this man and they exchanged blows, we would all be exchanging blows wherever.
The blows would
wherever
just
we
go
were.
outside
And
the
blows
conference
would-
venue.
Exactly.
You're absolutely right.
You get that point. I think it's commendable, and we must ask other Nigerians to emulate Jega, be able to understand the other person's comportment, sympathize, or rather empathize with him or her when he or she feels carried away by emotion. That played a lot. Secondly, the president's statesmanly gesture of saying, I recognize that it's clear. Please, let's stop at this. It served the nation. It served the continent. When you go now, as Otive, you travel a lot, you know, I travel a lot, you travel a lot. When I attend the international conferences now, they say, are you from Nigeria? I said, yes, I am. I'm from Nigeria that practices advanced democracy. Otherwise, you would walk into a scenario like that and they say, but what's going on in your country?
Therefore, we learned a lot. And of course, I wanted to also mention that Professor Jega taught a course that day too.
Yes.
There was a little course that he taught to a particular person and probably also to people that were watching. But I think that Nigerians, you said, should be proud of what happened that day. And that we learned a lesson. But there are also lessons learned all across Africa from the whole election process in Nigeria and from the way we concluded it.
Yeah, before you talk, I think one whole thing that happened is that Buhari won an electoral victory. Undisputable now. Jonathan won a moral victory. And the nation won an overall victory.
Yes.
And so it's a win-win situation that the entire continent,
Yes.
nay the world, should copy from.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of lessons that Africa and indeed the world can learn from the process. You will recall that when Jega was appointed in 2010, there was little time to prepare for the 2011 elections.
Absolutely.
And so after the 2011 elections, there are a lot of things that the commission did, which other commissions across the world need to learn from. One was that they prepared a comprehensive strategic plan with clear program, quarter by quarter, for 5 years. So they were clear on what is to be done, who is to do it, and the cost implications. Secondly, there was a lot of focus on people. Institutional reorganization, the Electoral Institute got a new leadership in the person of Professor Abubakar Momo. So they did a lot of things in preparation for the elections. Now, they also did a study of previous elections, including the 2011 elections, and looked at the problem areas, leading to the introduction of the card reader, and more specific focus on collation issues. But before then, I think one of the greatest lessons is what we have always known in organizational studies, that for success in terms of implementation, there are three main factors. One, strategy. Two, operations, including the processes, mechanisms, and systems. And three, people.
The elections, did they reveal any tribal, religious biases that we have to deal with in Nigeria? Nigeria careened to the edge of a dangerous precipice until President Goodluck Jonathan made a historic and singular phone call to General Muhammadu Buhari to concede defeat, an act that brought national relief and proclaimed victory for the people of Nigeria and all of Africa. Frankly, before President Jonathan's April 1, 2015 award-winning phone call, things had already started to fray and unravel at the seams, as a now notorious ominous drama early in the presidential election coalition center that day had caused Nigeria to begin to stare doom in the face. Now, doom is gone, and the uncertainty that hung over Nigeria has abated visibly. A good witness to this is the Naira, which is now standing firmer against the dollar. Before March 28, the day of the presidential election, the Naira had weakened terribly, needing more of it to stand up to the dollar, at nearly 230 Naira to the dollar in the parallel market on March 27, compared to about 180 Naira to the dollar in late 2014. Although the Naira is still vulnerable to the vicissitudes of the crude oil market, it is clear that the Buhari victory has shaved away much of the weakness contributed by psychology and uncertainty. In addition, I believe that oil prices are unlikely to drop below $50 a barrel anytime soon, as global oil stockpiles are no longer overflowing, and also since most U.S. refineries are virtually fully back in operation after seasonal retooling to meet the heightened demand of the coming summer driving season. In addition, there are signs that the first monthly decline in shale oil production since 2011 will soon occur. The ride for the incoming Buhari administration will be smoother if oil prices can find a bottom above $50 a barrel. Fortunately, I believe this will happen. So what next? To tackle the economy for the well-being of the people, the president-elect, when he is president, must do as he has been saying: make the economy more efficient. Now, efficiency will also improve if we have mass participation in the economic development process. There are now strategies that can help for this to be achieved. Indeed, solutions for addressing corruption, impunity, joblessness, and even Boko Haram, militancy, and other criminality can be found in approaches for achieving efficiency. The president-elect is clearly on the right track. I'm Magnus Packle, and that's my view.
At the